All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to go ahead and get started this evening. This is our City Council public hearing work session for September the 12th. And I'll now call this meeting to order, and the clerk will call the roll.
Mayor Brian Mock.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Jimmy First.
Here.
Councilmember John Mesa.
Here.
Councilmember Leslie Robson.
Present.
Councilmember Paul Stovall.
Here.
Councilmember Elmer Veith.
Present.
Very good. We need to approve the agenda this evening.
Motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
A motion and a second to approve the agenda as submitted. Any discussion? All in favor? And that is unanimous. All righty. Under announcements and presentations this evening, I believe the Planning and Development Director has something for us this evening.
All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is John Maximuck. I'm Planning and Development Director, and tonight for an announcement, I have a special event for our customers and constituents. I'm announcing our first ever Permit Power Hour, and the Permit Power Hour is a chance for our customers to come and get answers to frequently asked questions about permitting and planning, and a chance for us to hear from our customers and get input on how we can improve. That will take place right here in this room, 11:30 next Thursday at September 19th. It's a Permit Power Hour lunch version. So we're serving free lunch for our customers and our constituents who pull permits in the city. And like I said with the comprehensive plan, things like this are more entertaining than surfing or watching Netflix. In fact, this will be better than scrolling through ESPN.com on your cell phone. So please come to the Permit Power Hour, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Very good. And that was September the 19th at 11 o'clock, and a free lunch. Don't know what we're serving, but a free lunch. But anyway, come on down. If you have had any issues or questions or concerns about permits of any kind, the staff will be glad to work with you on this, and I'm glad to see that we're doing this. All right, we'll move on down to public hearings this evening, and I will read the rules of order for public hearing zoning matters. The hearing shall be presided over by the mayor. After calling the hearing to order, the mayor shall request that all parcels of property which are subject to the zoning proposal be identified and read. Following such identification and reading, the development director's recommendation shall be presented. The mayor and city council shall cause the director's written recommendation to be made part of the record. Proponents of each proposed zoning decision shall be then allowed a total of 10 minutes for presentation of data, evidence, and opinion concerning the zoning decision. If all 10 minutes are not used, the proponent's remaining time may be reserved for rebuttal. Opponents of each proposed zoning decision shall be allowed a total of 10 minutes of presentation of data, evidence, and opinion concerning each zoning decision. The presentation times may not be reduced, but may be extended by majority vote, provided they're expanded equally for proponents and opponents. Anyone wishing to speak must come to the microphone. Give your name and address to the city clerk, and do not speak unless you have the microphone and have been recognized. In layman's terms, that means, folks, you have 10 minutes to come up and tell us what you want us to know. We are not here to answer questions at this point. This does come up later in the agenda. If council has questions, they will ask at that time. So you come up, tell us what you want us to know, but don't be asking council questions because they can't answer you at this point. So we'll move into the first public hearing, which is 2580 Northeast Expressway.
Hello again, Mayor and Council. I'm here with two cases tonight. Both have to do with variances. Before I start, I want to give some background to listeners and the community about variances. The UDO in Section 280 allows for landowners in the city to come forward and apply for variances or breaks for strict compliance with regulatory requirements of the Unified Development Ordinance. And there's strict criteria for how these are evaluated, and there's a list of requirements that bring us to this point. We have two applicants tonight. The first is 2580 Northeast Expressway. And this project is located on the Northeast Expressway, about halfway between Shalford and Claremont, obviously on the west side of 85. There are two variances involved with this application, and the proposed development that's the basis for this is an addition of a warehouse to the back of an existing office building there. So we'll get into a little bit about the background of this request and the background information. The site location, as seen from an aerial point of view, shows this triangle-shaped property. Obviously, here to the left of the I-85 Expressway and the Northeast Expressway. Moving on to some details about this request. There are two variances involved. The first has to do with the buffer requirement. The second has to do with parking spaces. Why are these significant? Buffer requirements represent a community need to provide space for screening between adjacent properties. And parking is pretty obvious. It's the number of parking spaces and the appropriate spacing size of a parking space in order to ensure adequate parking. So there's two here. The first variance is to move from a 40-foot buffer down to a 10-foot buffer. Because of this warehouse infringes on that buffer. The second is to reduce the number of parking spaces from 35 required total to 29 parking spaces proposed. So that's what's required in order to move forward with this proposal. You'll see on the next screen the existing conditions. This is a site survey that shows that triangle-shaped property in detail. And the following one is very similar. It shows with a dotted line just to the left or west, you'll see that the proposed 4,800 square foot warehouse building. The next slide shows viewers what this project will look like, at least the warehouse part of it, through elevation drawings from each of the four sides. And then there are also submitted with this application a number of photographs that show what the site looks like right now. And you'll see the business facing Northeast Expressway from 2 points of view. The following photograph shows a different side, the existing parking area, and existing buffer between Chateau Montaigne Apartments and the site. And then the last set of photographs show the proposed building area that's now used for vehicle storage and material storage. So if you pull up to the site like I did, you take a right off of the one-way expressway, pull into the parking lot all the way to the back left, and you'll see the development site. That is the proposal and the background information. Staff does recommend approval with conditions for this case. And in detail, we'll require, as we always do, that plan submitted with the application for the variances remain in place for the application for any building permits or land disturbance permits. We're also proposing, should council approve this, that the parking lot shall be restriped to ensure clear demarcation of spaces. This makes sure that the space that they have is being used properly and most efficiently for the reduced number of parking that's being proposed. Next, or third, is the additional buffer landscaping. It shall be installed where vegetation and topography are insufficient to achieve the desired level of screening. And then also interparcel access easements shall be provided to accommodate continuous access and egress between the subject property and the commercial property to the west and the multifamily to the north. Staff is always looking for opportunities for future connectivity. This doesn't mean connectivity now. This just helps to preserve that opportunity or that potential later. So in all, there are four suggested conditions of approval should the council consider approving this. At this time, I'd like to move on to the second and last zoning matter for tonight, 3285 Shalford Road. Okay.
Yeah, let's
All right.
see if there's anybody here to speak on 2580 Northeast Expressway this evening. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this item? Come on up. Tell us your name and address, how you're related to the project.
David Sparks with Sparks Grisar Construction. I'm the general contractor on the project. And my address is 3450 US Highway 78, Loganville, Georgia.
Okay, all right.
Basically, the only thing I wanted to kind of add to that is the buffer is being reduced to 10 foot, but the building is only encroaching onto the buffer 11 feet. So we're asking for the variance because of some existing asphalt and curb and gutter and things that are in that new buffer that were installed prior to the ordinance that's in place now. And that's about it.
Okay, all right. Anyone else here wishing to speak in favor of this item? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? No opposition. All right. Again, this will come up later in the agenda. Council may have questions at that time, may not. John, we'll move into 3285 Shalford Road Northeast.
Sure, absolutely. Here, the applicant owner is Mustafa Muhammad, and the location of this variance request is 3285 Shalford Road. This is close to the intersection of Beaufort Highway and Shalford Road at the intersection of LaVenture on the east side. There are two variance requests as well, and the basis of this is to build a two-story office building at this property. This property had a single-family house on it for many years. My understanding is it was demolished recently in the last couple of years, and now there's just remnants of that single-family house with some curb cuts there. You'll see from the aerial view, the site location there at the intersection of LaVenture and Shalford Road, and this is a fairly recent photograph. The applicant's requests in detail have to do with also reducing the required 40-foot buffer, and the same principle remains for the purpose of buffers as in the previous case. And we're also dealing with a reduction of required parking spaces, as I explained in the prior case. So the basis for the variance is that, or the criteria that the applicant is appealing to, has to do with the fact that if buffer requirements were fully in place, the parking would have to be shifted to the front, and it would change the goals for our street front development on Shalford. I'd like to tell you a little bit more about the existing conditions. You have an existing site here, and this shows obviously the remnants of the concrete driveway and the trees that are in place. And then on the following slide, you'll see the site plan as proposed, with some vegetation towards the east single-family neighborhood, the parking area, and then the proposed two-story building with a footprint area of 2,250 square feet. And then you'll also see the required streetscape that will be installed as part of the development should it be approved with the variances. The next slide shows everybody the elevations as proposed, and these are presented on two slides. So you see exterior elevation from Shalford Road, southwest view, and then an exterior elevation, northwest view, and then the reverse on the following slides. And then, as we usually do, there are site photographs, and this shows the property. It's got some trees on it, and you see the existing parking areas and curb cuts, both the first and second photos. Staff is recommending approval with conditions, should the council consider approving this. And the conditions are as follows. One is to have plans submitted with the permit as we have them now, and then applicant shall install a 5-foot wide painted crosswalk across LaVenture Drive. The crosswalk shall include improvements compliant with GDOT standards, including but not limited to signage and striping. And that crosswalk is listed on the, it's not listed, it's included on the proposed site plan that's included in the packet. And that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you, John. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this item? Anyone in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this item? All right, seeing none, we'll move on down. Under staff reports this evening, we have the draft comprehensive plan update. Doing that one, John?
I would like to, at this time, I'd like to introduce the presentation. John Tooley with Chamblee Horn is here. He's our project manager, and he's been working closely with me and the rest of the staff on developing our comprehensive plan, and he'll tell us where we're at on this project as of today. Thanks.
Thanks, John. Mayor and Council, good to be with you again tonight. Kristen's going to bring up the presentation here in a minute, but I wanted to take a brief couple of seconds to just thank you all again for your participation during the comprehensive plan process. There were either individual one-on-one interviews, some of you came out to the stakeholder meetings, some of you came out to the public meetings, and appreciate the participation of Mayor and Council. Planning processes that we do with Mayor and Council involved or elected officials involved are always more successful. The buy-in from you all is critical, and this is your plan when we're done with it. It's the city's plan and your plan to implement. So again, appreciate the time that you all committed to the process. Again, I'm John Tooley with Chamblee Horn. We're the lead firm on the comprehensive plan team. Also had Sycamore Consulting on the team. They're an expert firm on public engagement. They've done a bang-up job reaching out to the community. So I have some slides prepared tonight. I'm going to try not to take a whole lot of time. Really, this is a little bit of a teaser and an introduction to the draft comprehensive plan. I want to encourage you all, as well as folks in the audience and folks that catch this meeting later, to go online and check out the draft plan. And we're still taking comments now. The plan is actually in the hands of ARC and DCA for their cursory review. They always have a review that they conduct before you adopt it to see if they have any comments or suggestions or anything else. And then we'll bring that back later for your consideration and adoption in October. Next slide. Oh, perfect. Thank you. Thanks for reminding me of that. Real quick slide on the schedule. So again, we're approaching the end now. The little red bar, you can't really see too well, maybe on the screens out here, is the ARC-DCA review. DCA tends to take a couple of weeks maybe to have a review, and they'll typically find a couple of small things that just kind of set expectations. ARC will often have comments. Their review is really just kind of advisory, but we like to take those into consideration as well. And I've actually received a couple of helpful comments from some affected agencies that reached out to us. We're nearing the end of the process. Again, some of the stars and the dots and things you see are representative of different engagement points that we had, whether they be public meetings, public hearings, pop-up events that we did, and other listening sessions that we did for the council and stakeholders and the public. So comprehensive plan, some folks know what this is. Some folks aren't really sure exactly what is included in this. At its core, a comprehensive plan really is guidance for land use and development and zoning decisions. That's kind of the meat, the core of it. But as the name implies, it's meant to try to connect the dots between a lot of the other things that the city is doing. And so each community takes a little bit different track on this. Some are a little more proactive in trying to connect those dots and pull things in. And with you all, that's the track we took. And so beyond land use, we also considered housing, economic development, multimodal transportation, community and quality of life, and you can see some of the other items listed up there. The good thing is you all have already been doing a lot of work and planning and thought around these, and so we were able to take other plans, other documents, and make connections, pull some priorities over where we could find some good synergies between those plans and make those connections. That's important, too, because when you're making land use decisions, it's good to know what are the other investments we're making, and for the community and developers that come in to understand what is it that the city is interested in doing as far as parks and green space and transportation and bike ped investments. And so really trying to kind of pull those things together into one place. So I'm going to walk through a few of these briefly. I do have some boards in the back that we used at some public meetings that are there really just for, so y'all could get a flavor of what we used at some of the meetings. I'll be hanging around for a little bit, so if council or anyone in the audience has any questions, happy to stand by the boards and answer a few more questions as well. One of the key pieces you have as you kind of lean into the meat of the document is the vision and goals. We were able to take the vision from the last comprehensive plan and bring that forward, and most folks agreed that still was relevant, still applied to what the city was trying to do. The one thing we heard both from, I'll say from council and from stakeholders and from the public, was that one thing that was missing that wanted to be included in a little finer point was the desire that the city be a kind city, an inclusive city, a welcoming city. And so you can see we bolded the word inclusive. That was really the only change to the vision. We also added 2 additional goals and sort of revised another goal. Previously, the last plan, identified a goal as developing character for the city. And everyone kind of agreed. We sort of established the character in the city. What we're really doing is enhancing and maintaining that character. So that's one change. The other is, at the very bottom, is putting a finer point on housing affordability. That again, whether it be council or stakeholders or the public, we heard over and over again that whereas Chamblee used to be a very affordable place for a lot of folks, it's kind of starting to get a little bit trickier for the average newcomer, young professional, even empty nester to find a place in the community. And so wanting to put a finer point on leaning into that and trying to address that both with the city and with partners, public and private as well. I mentioned at its core, it is a land use plan, and the city's comprehensive plan previously had a character area map and a future land use map. We kept those 2 elements. Character area map is that highest level land use guidance that kind of defines some different sections and areas of the city that then provides some future land use guidance beneath that. We revised several character areas, again, based on public comment and stakeholder comment. We actually shifted and maybe created a couple of new from previous, where it seemed like there was a desire to put a greater focus on some of these areas, and you'll see that outlined in the plan. Just to highlight a couple of them, one is the area north of downtown, north of town center, an area that's kind of very interesting, but really has maybe been a little bit looked over. And as the development and the success of the city continues north, sort of what are we thinking about there? So providing a little bit of guidance on that. And then there's the Chamblee-Dunwoody corridor from Beaufort Highway to New Peachtree, and really to the railroad tracks. Previously, that was kind of just carved up between a couple of areas. And we noticed that area has a lot of interesting character. There's a lot of pedestrian activity there. And so we wanted to carve that out to provide some guidance there, just as a couple of highlights. There have also been several small area plans previously conducted by the city where the city took the time to focus in and provide some guidance on a particular area. We leaned into 2 areas during this comp plan and sort of either brushed up what had been talked about before, provided a little more guidance. And then for those other small areas that were still relevant, still made sense, again, we pulled those back into the comprehensive plan. The 2 areas we looked at, again, I just mentioned north of downtown, so there's a little bit of guidance there. You can actually see a board on one of those in the middle. And then the Century Center area, which, as we started to talk about, it really is one of the more kind of untapped, exciting areas that we were able to discuss with the community as we move forward. And again, 2 boards, a board back here with a couple of concepts. Mention the other small areas. Again, some of these we weren't really throwing out what was done before, but really just kind of updating or revising or dusting off a little bit. In some cases, taking a little more of an incremental approach, and in other cases, just updating maybe the vision that had been provided before, but not really changing them wholesale. One of the other things, again, I mentioned housing as a key focus that we wanted to do was provide a little more guidance on this. Now, the actual land use guidance is still nested in the character areas and the future land use, but we provided a second area to provide, to point out both for staff, for the community, for council, what are we trying to do from a housing standpoint? And really, something we've learned as we looked around Metro Atlanta is that there's not like a silver bullet. It's not that the city's going to be able to exactly figure out what the problem is and solve it on its own. It's not really the private sector is going to be able to solve it all on its own. There's going to be a bit of a mixed bag of opportunities and options on the table. And so the map we've provided is a little bit of a clever, innovative thing that we've done. I haven't seen other comp plans have this. We've kind of carved up the area as far as what's the character of private housing we want to try to encourage. With a desire to encourage more diverse housing in a lot of areas. In those established neighborhoods, we're really trying to preserve the character that's there. But in some of the more transitional areas, the areas along major corridors, some of the areas where the city's already focusing a lot of attention and investment, think about other clever ways and creative housing product that we can introduce there. The city's also going through the Georgia Initiative for Community Housing process right now, and so there are opportunities for the city to look at public-private partnerships, to bring down some grant funding and do other things to address housing. So a pretty brief but robust section on housing as well. Transportation, again, you all have a good transportation plan that you're continuing to work through, and so we were able to kind of update that relative to the comprehensive plan. What are the next key items that you all are looking at? There's two particular projects that the city is charging ahead on right now, being the Chamblee Dunwoody Streetscape and Roundabout, as well as the Broad Street project right out here outside City Hall. Obviously, there's lots of other things related to transportation, paving and sidewalk gap filling and other things that you're doing, but these are kind of bigger ticket items. There's also a lot of other projects that either with the city of Doraville or the Chamblee-Doraville CID or with MARTA or with GDOT that you all are working on. Those are listed as well as other things to kind of keep an eye on. Trails was a topic of interest. A lot of folks are interested in this. Again, this was one of the first comments we heard. People were ecstatic and super thrilled about the rail trail and all the investment that you all have done with that project. And their question was, what's next? Where are you all going next? How do we connect the rest of the city into this amazing amenity that you've provided? City has good plans to kind of start reaching north. Nancy Creek is one of those, and there's some other projects, as well as kind of the center rail trail project continuing to fill out. But how do we go south? How do we connect south? And so leaving some options behind to kind of study what those next connections are. Not exactly sure what those are, but that would be sort of the next step. Kind of look at what's on the books already and what's the most feasible and what makes the most sense. And then we found a lot of interest as we continue to talk in the Peachtree Creek Greenway, and actually maybe starting to think about how the city could act as really a crown jewel in that eventual Greenway as it comes online. Y'all could actually be one of the destinations that people want to walk and bike to once that trail is finished. So a lot of interest and excitement there. Briefly mention economic development, community quality of life, which includes parks and rec and arts and culture, and sustainability and resilience. And so, again, because you've done some work in these areas, because you've done things like achieve Green Communities Platinum status and other things, we were able to pull those policies and those plans over. We didn't have to reinvent the wheel. Finally, if I mentioned the land use as kind of the meat of the document, really the point that kind of gets you out the door and starts moving you down the road is the community work program. So it is a long list of projects, oftentimes in comp plans to look at. What we wanted to do was refine that down to really the key things over the next 5, maybe 10 years that the city's really trying to do, again, across land use and development, transportation, housing, economic development, community quality of life, sustainability, and resilience. So we've boiled it down to some of those key things that y'all are really leaning in on. This is just kind of some of the top ones. This isn't a complete list, but you can see some of the things mentioned there. Updating the UDO, implementing City Center project, which y'all are already underway with that process. Transportation, we already mentioned some of the key projects and some of the studies that are maybe left behind. Housing, your housing team is already kind of working on that work now, and so highlighting some of that, and then you can see the other areas that we've listed. So tried to take something that previously had a lot of items and was maybe a little hard to navigate and boil it down to something that is a little more tangible, a little more easier to digest, and provides you with a focused goal of things to kind of to focus on. In no way is the community work program and the comprehensive plan meant to be an end-all list for the city. There's lots of other things that you all are working on, but as it relates to comprehensive planning, it's boiled down to a pretty good list. So last slide, next steps. So again, the draft plan is online. I did provide a link. I know it's hard for people to write that down, but if we're able to post this online, and I'm happy to provide this information to folks afterwards as well. Plan is online for draft plans online for review. We're waiting for DCA and ARC to get their comments back to us. We can keep making edits on the plan and revising it as comments come in if council identifies other things that you would like to address. And then in October, we'll be back for final review and adoption by you all. So that's a pretty quick overview. Again, lots more details in the plan itself. Happy to answer any questions, or like I said, hang around afterwards if anybody has any questions.
Questions or comments from council?
I heard a lot of your buzzwords, and I know you've
Microphone.
put a lot of work. I'm sorry. I know you've put so much work into this, but so far I like what I'm hearing. Now I'm going to go look at it. I'm excited about this.
Anything else? I've truly enjoyed going through this process. I always do these comprehensive plans. A lot of folks could find this boring stuff, but I always enjoy it. Not only is our vision statement for the future, and it helps us all stay on the same page not just those sitting up here, but folks sitting out there as well. Helps us all move in the right direction to keep the city going, to get to where it can be the best that it can be. I'm very thankful to our steering committee, I'll say that, for giving of their time to be a part of this. Citizen input really matters in these things. We may think everything is great, and it's sometimes we have to step back, and the citizens have to tell us, well, yeah, it's great, but it could be better if you did this. So I appreciate the citizens participating, and thank you for what you did to help us navigate through this. Yeah. Any other comments from council? All right, thank you, sir.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Move on down to our old business this evening is our low-impact film ordinance amendment.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an amendment to our film ordinance. In 2022, we added a definition for low-impact films. And so this is requiring a little bit of modification to that, where it currently requires for any low-impact film to go and obtain a film permit. We are kind of changing that a little bit, where they don't actually have to go get a permit for each film. The location in which a low-impact film is being produced or filmed in, they have to obtain a home occupation tax certificate and provide notice to the city. So those amendments are reflected in this amendment. I did want to note that this has been kind of a back and forth conversation, and so we put it on the agenda for this evening, and if you would like to move it to first read for Tuesday, you can do so, but we will need to do a public hearing at the next meeting because it's a zoning change, so it'll have to be advertised and have a public hearing under a zoning amendment for next month before you adopt it finally. So just wanted to make that note.
So, Kristen, if I understand this correctly, what we're moving forward with is what we originally intended, but somehow the language just didn't reflect the intent.
Correct.
And so when people, myself, thought it was going one way, and then it's like, no, we have to, and there was the suggestion of our legal team to make this modification because they felt like there was a conflict in the language. It wasn't anything, this isn't anything new, it's just clearing up what we tried to do.
Right, simplifying a little bit of the process so that it is clear to an applicant what they need to do, and also to somebody who might have a property that's available for low-impact filming, and then also providing a mechanism for the city to receive notice, since we're not actually issuing a permit for it every single time.
What are the penalties if they don't notify us? Since it's not a permit, do we have any recourse?
Code enforcement. Yeah.
Okay.
And just one of this would be, they would still have to effectively renew this permit annually. through
Right,
the
because
occupancy
it falls
license.
under their home occupation.
Talking about the
tax.
business license,
Yes,
not the
correct,
permit.
yeah.
Yeah, but that's called a permit, I don't know, but a business license, so that these people that
They're
have this
still-
have a business license, a home-based business.
Right, they're still
That
registered.
they
with
have
the
to,
city.
Okay, so they have a business license.
if they
to be able
continue to
do it.
violate the terms of this agreement, then they would have their business license pulled.
From a historical standpoint, how many permits are being pulled for this right now? 0? Okay.
So the OCTAX or business permit that would be like a permanent, yearly renewable?
Yeah, just a standard business license like any business in the city. They are just designated as a home occupation business. So if you have any home-based business would have to get that, but they designate that in the application for their business license.
But that doesn't apply to one-time only use?
Right.
Okay.
So it's the property,
Right.
not necessarily the film itself.
Mm-hmm.
So this is regulating the property.
Right.
Anything else from council? Okay, we're good? All right.
Do we want to move this to a first read?
Yes, if you would like to move it to a first reading.
Okay, you want to do that?
Sure, let's, do we need to, just by consensus, move it to first read?
Yeah.
Okay. I consent.
I can-
Can you take that? Okay, all right. All right, all right. We have 2 sets of minutes on the agenda. Did anybody see anything that jumped out at them needs to be changed for Tuesday? Everything good? All right. And then under staff action items, we'll move down to the benefits renewal.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's wonderful to see you all again. It's that time of year when we come together to do our annual employee benefits renewal. So tonight, my name is Jennifer Burke. I'm the Human Resources Director. I'm here to present that 2025 employee benefit renewal. Okay, again, each year, as way of background, we do collaborate with Acrisure, formerly known as Peachtree Benefit Group. They went through a rebranding this year, and they participate in this renewal process with us. We've had a historical focus on cost containment, making sure we have robust benefit offerings for our employees, and of course, employee affordability with our plans. So as a brief recap, we have, as a council, you all came together a few years ago to approve a cost share strategy. It's a percentage of the premium that is shared between the employer and the employee for the plan type and tier of coverage that they have. And then in 2023, we introduced a consumer-driven health care plan with an employer-funded health savings account. We still have that plan. And we also implemented Cortico and WellHub, formerly known as GymPass. They also went through a rebranding, which is health and wellness programming. And Cortico is specific to first responders and law enforcement. The WellHub, or formerly GymPass, is open to all employees and helps give them access to gyms, fitness memberships, and also to mental health apps and wellness and financial apps as well. So as we move forward in tonight's presentation, I do want us to be mindful that in 2020, from 2023 to 2024, our medical and pharmacy spend increased 128% in the last 12 months. We did have a couple of high-cost claimants, and one of those, unfortunately, was catastrophic in nature. So that did impact this year's renewal, and I just want us to be mindful of that as we discuss some of this tonight, because it does impact the renewal numbers that we're seeing. On the screen, you'll see our renewal timeline. So we're here tonight to give this presentation, talk about getting a renewal adopted for 2025. We'll do that in September. Then in October, city staff will move to building out the electronic data file feeds necessary with our benefit administration group to make sure that we have all those carrier file feeds that are necessary to carry over election information for employee benefit selections. In November, we'll have our open enrollment process, do presentations with employees. This will be an opportunity for everyone to re-elect their benefits for 2025. Then in December, we have all that information sent over to the carriers, and in 2025, we have those benefits that take effect. Any questions on the renewal timeline? Okay. At this time, I'd like to call forward Acrisure so that they can present the actual renewal information, and then I'll come back a little closer toward the end of the presentation and talk about staff recommendations.
Thank you, Jennifer. My name is Leah Gordon now, actually. Just changed it yesterday. So I was Leah Shuford, some familiar faces, and I'm from Acrisure. And
Rebecca Waters, also with Acrisure, and see some familiar faces as well.
yeah, so good to see everybody. We're here to talk about your 2025 renewal and benefits. Your current benefit overview. Right now, we offer medical, dental, and vision through Cigna, and your basic life, voluntary life, short-term disability, long-term disability through United Healthcare. And you also offer an FSA, a dependent care FSA, and a health savings account through EBC, which is Employee Benefits Corporation. For your two medical plans, or three medical plans, you offer two traditional copay plans, one that offers in-network only and one that offers in and out. And then as Jennifer stated, in 2023, we adopted a consumer-driven health plan that is a third option for your three health plans. So that is your current benefit offering. Renewal results. So this is for medical, dental, and vision specifically. In the next slide, we'll talk more about the life and disability portion. So we sent out requests for proposals to Cigna, which is your current carrier for the medical, dental, vision. We sent out proposals to Aetna, Anthem, and United Healthcare. Anthem declined to quote, and United Healthcare was not competitive in the market. Aetna offered similar premiums and rates to Cigna with bundling the medical, dental, vision, but the rates were very, very similar to Cigna's offering, and the fact that Aetna offers similar rates, but it would also impact disruption to employees. I have the considerations of a carrier change listed here. That is what that disruption is if you were to move to a new carrier such as Cigna. So when we look at moving to new carrier, we usually look at it as if it's a significant savings. If it's not, would be a lot disruptions such as new prior authorizations for drugs, a totally new network, ongoing case management, and also future renewal concerns moving to a totally new carrier. So Cigna's renewal, if for 2026, offers a renewal rate cap of 15%, meaning in 2026, the maximum that the renewal or the rates can go up is 15%. This was for 2025. That was the renewal rate cap, and we also negotiated another renewal rate cap for 2026 as well, part of the Cigna renewal. Also part of the Cigna renewal is an enhanced employee assistance program and $0 preventative care medications as well. In 2025, the plan designs are similar to current coverage options. However, today we will talk about some adjustments that are recommended. There are two options outlined in the executive summary, and today that we will discuss what those two options are for plan design changes. So for renewal results for the life and disability, we went out and requested proposals from Unum, Lincoln Financial, Principal, the Hartford Group, One America, and the current carrier, United Healthcare. Unum and Principal declined to quote, and your current carrier, United Healthcare, offered a rate pass, which means no increase or decrease. And Lincoln and One America were not competitive. However, the Hartford Group was competitive and offered lines of coverage that offered savings in amount of roughly $15,000 and also offered rate guarantees for 2 and 3 years, meaning the rates for the life or disability will not change for 2 years or 3 years, depending on that line of coverage. The Hartford Group also offered a $3,000 implementation credit and an enhanced employee assistance program. The considerations for plan design change, there is a new House bill that is required to be adopted, House Bill 451, and it requires additional coverage for first responders and their PTSD benefits. It's estimated to cost around $11,000 in 2025, and that is the details are in the executive summary. That is a required House bill. So going through some of the renewal objectives specifically for 2025, working with Jennifer in HR as well as us at Acrisure, we have 4 main renewal objectives, and these objectives really have not changed throughout the years. We've just tweaked them from year to year. The first one is cost containment, meaning controlling and managing benefit costs effectively. So managing the plan designs, making sure they're staying up with benchmarking, as well as managing pharmacy and healthcare costs so you can provide affordable coverage and health plans for your employees. Proactive employee health, encouraging employees to take proactive measures for physical and mental health. This is not only done through your health plan by plan design, but it is also through the different wellness programs that the city does offer its employees, such as Cortico, Gym Pass, and the health and wellness fairs that are occurring every several months. Coverage continuity. Minimize provider and prescription drug cover disruptions by ensuring consistent access to doctors and medications for employees. Really, that just means minimizing the disruption for the employees at City of Chamblee. Moving carriers every year can be quite disruptive, so what can we do to minimize that disruption and have a continuity of care, network, prescription access, plan design, wellness, all of that continuity of care. And then last is value, offering robust benefits at an affordable cost for employees. So making sure that the coverage is comprehensive but also affordable to the City of Chamblee employees, again, while also containing cost, having proactive employee health, and continuing coverage. So this is a high-level plan cost comparison. It's taking your 2024 cost for all of the benefits from medical, dental, vision, basic life, voluntary life, employer-paid short-term disability, and voluntary long-term disability. And it's looking at two options, renewal option 1 and renewal option 2. Renewal option 1 is staff recommendation of renewing with Cigna with slight plan design changes, still offering 3 plans, and then also moving to the Hartford for the life and disability. Renewal option 2 is adopting renewal option 2 with 2 plans and also the Hartford. So those are the 2 renewal options. You'll notice at the bottom where it says change from current, renewal option 1 is increasing the total package 8.14%, while renewal option 2 around 7%. So to dig a little bit more into the detail of the medical plan comparison, we have Cigna option 1 and Cigna option 2. So this is just looking at your medical plans. Under the cost containment, the renewal increase for Cigna option 1 would be 9%, while the renewal increase for Cigna option 2 would be 7.82%. However, that number is starred because that number can actually go down depending on how many people enroll in your consumer-driven health plan. On both plans, there's a 15% rate cap for 2026, as I'd mentioned before. So the most that the cost could increase to the city in 2026 would be 15%, regardless of which option the city chooses. Number of plans offered. As I mentioned before, that option 1 is renewing with 3 plan options, very similar plan options you have today. We call it the OAP, the OAP-IN, and the Consumer-Driven Health Plan. Option 2 is adopting only 2, keeping the 2 health plans and canceling one of the health plans, the OAP plan. So keeping the OAP-IN and the Consumer-Driven Health Plan. Out-of-network plan options. On Cigna option 1, there would be 2 plans that offered out-of-network benefits, the OAP and the high-deductible health plan. On Cigna option 2, there would be only 1 plan that would offer out-of-network benefits. The reason behind only offering 1 plan is that after analyzing the health benefits, there's a 99.2% in-network utilization, meaning that all of the claims that the company is using, over 99% are in-network. So to have 2 plans that offer out-of-network benefits seems redundant. So moving to having 2 different plans, 1 plan offers out-of-network benefits for folks that need it, and then 1 plan that offers in-network benefits. So that's one of the reasons and kind of the background of why moving to 2 plans. Also, the plan that we are suggesting in option 2 to cancel is a very similar cost and premium for employees as the OAP. So the OAP and the OAP-IN right now, very similar cost. Then lastly, the migration to a consumer-driven health plan. You keep 3 options right now. There's not an encouragement to have folks enroll in the consumer-driven health plan. With the option number 2, because we're eliminating one of the plan options, the OAP, there is going to be a migration into both plans, but we're going to encourage a migration into the consumer-driven health plan with education and open enrollment and things like that. If we go back up to the top, that's why there's a star at the 7.82%, because that actually could reduce if you have more of a migration of 25% of the OAP folks into that consumer-driven health plan. So that number actually can go down depending on those that are enrolling or migrating from the plan that's terminating to the consumer-driven health plan. And for proactive employee health, we can check the mark on all of these: employee wellness incentives, wellness funds, preventative RX, meaning preventative prescriptions at no cost, and enhanced EAP will be available and included on both plan options. So as Jennifer also mentioned, the contribution strategy, so we'll go over the two strategies. The first one is for that renewal option 1. So you'll notice there's 3 plans: OAP-IN, OAP, and the consumer-driven health plan. The percentages listed on the left, the 90 and 10%, is not changing. We're recommending that the city keep those percentages the same as they are today. In orange is the 2024, your current employer and employee contributions, and in green is the 2025 or proposed contributions if you were to adopt option number 1. And then lastly, at the bottom, the consumer-driven health plan, HSA, the staff recommends to increase the consumer-driven health plan, or the HSA, employer contribution from $750 to $850 if you have single, and then increase it from $1,500 to $1,700 for if you have family coverage. Mainly 2 reasons for that. The first reason is the IRS did increase how much an individual can contribute to the HSA in 2025, so just increasing also that employer contribution as well. And then on the next option is if the city were to adopt renewal option 2, and you'll notice it's the 2 plans, the OAP-IN and the consumer-driven health plan. You'll notice that on the consumer-driven HSA employer contribution, we recommend increasing that amount as well on the HSA. In addition to the IRS increases, we definitely recommend increasing the HSA under option 2, as more individuals and employees will be migrating to that high deductible health plan for the first time. And so increasing that employer HSA for employees that, again, are new to the HSA can help them fund their health plan. So additional reason, especially on option number 2, to increase that employer HSA contribution. And Jennifer is going to conclude, and then we'll do questions.
Okay. That was a lot of information, I know. In short, staff is recommending that council approve to move forward with option 2 as presented, and then to adjust the OAPIN 750 deductible plan to have a slightly increased out-of-pocket maximum that would currently match the current OAP 1500 plan. So it's not a drastic increase, but it is on par with that 3rd plan that we're recommending eliminating. So that would be an increase to $3,000 for an individual and $6,000 for family. And similarly, taking that emergency room copay to match what it is for the current OAP plan to just be in line more with that plan at $250 instead of the current, I think it's $150. Also recommending that we adjust those prescription tiers as presented, switch to the Hartford group. We approve moving forward with the GMA to provide that PTSD coverage required under House Bill 451. That coverage will be provided through MetLife, and they are offering that coverage for all insured customers who are part of the GMA network. And then the recommendation is also to continue with the premium contribution share the council has previously approved in past years, continue with the FSA contributions, the spousal surcharge, spousal wellness credit, employee wellness credit, employee tobacco surcharge, and increasing that HSA contribution as presented. At this time, we're here to answer any questions that you may have, so I will hand it over to you all.
The question I always ask every year is the continuity of care.
Yes.
And particularly the prescription drug. I feel like, based on my personal experience, that's the most disruptive. I can change a doctor a lot easier for me than I can change a medicine. So are you feel like that we're kind of still staying in that nobody will, I won't say nobody, but it will remain consistent with what we already have current?
Yes, because right now, everyone who has insurance with us is enrolled in a Cigna plan. So if they've gone through like a step therapy type of process,
Right.
they've already gone through that approval, and that carries over into next year. Now, if we were to make a carrier change, it starts over completely.
And I'll kind of add to that, the proposed plans going from 3 to 2 or whatnot, they all maintain the same pharmacy formulary, which is the list of medications covered. So even today, it's not that the OAP, OAPIN, or consumer-driven one, I'm making a medication up, but if you got Advil on one, right, if it was a prescription, you have access to Advil on all plans. Really just the difference is, what is my member cost share, right? What is my copay, et cetera. So we're not recommending making changes to that access or list, regardless of the plan.
Yeah, I'm okay with costs changing as times
Yeah.
change, but like I said, my hot button is the medications.
Yep, medication lists are staying the same, and they're consistent.
And that's in your staff, what staff is recommending?
Yes.
Okay, explain to me what you're talking about when you say to go from 3 plans to 2.
So currently, there's 3 plan options for City of Chamblee employees. One is, we call it the OAP 1500, meaning it has in and out-of-network benefits and a $1,500 deductible. Another option is, we call it the OAP-IN 750. That is in-network only benefits, so no out-of-network benefits, and a lower deductible at only $750. And the third plan is the consumer-driven health plan with an HSA. So today, those are the 3 options. What staff is recommending is going to 2 plan options, eliminating the OAP 1500 and just adopting the OAP 750 with the plan adjustments that Jennifer mentioned in conclusion, and then also the consumer-driven health plan with the HSA. So just offering those 2 plans, and again, eliminating the OAP 1500 plan.
Okay, let me see if I understand this. So that has nothing to do with having to stay within to go to preferred providers?
So no, so all of the plans will be on the same in-network.
Okay.
And when we did a analysis, we did determine that 99.2% of the claims are. So really the value of having that third option that has the higher deductible with the out-of-network, it's not really being utilized. So, from a more kind of efficient, streamlined benefit offering, we can offer the in-network plan that does have a lower deductible for everyone, knowing that the majority, nearly all claims are going in-network. But obviously still have that out-of-network option through the consumer-driven if someone does specifically need access to that, not completely eliminate non-network benefits.
If I may on this, just to provide some additional clarity, when we added that consumer-driven health plan a couple of years ago, it changed the dynamic of what we had offering, and so that it kind of bridged that gap between the differences between the 2 plans. And so we really don't have a lot of our employees on that 1500 plan in general, so that the change is it's minimally impacting our employees. And overall, it's not going to change anything significantly with any coverage that anybody receives. And if it does, you've got that consumer-driven health plan as a backup option.
And kind of just to piggyback off all the conversation that's been had, someone who's currently in that OAP plan, the OAP 1500 plan, their deductibles and out-of-pocket maximums for out-of-network coverage are higher than the CDHP. So we're offering a plan that has out-of-network coverage, and it is
Better out-of-network coverage.
yeah, it's better than the one we're looking at eliminating. So there is that redundancy there that we're trying to just get ahead of. There's some cost containment that plays into this as well. And also looking at slightly increasing that employer contribution to the HSA to help folks who might be switching plans. The HSA, if you're not familiar with it, is a triple tax advantage plan that it's like a savings account, if you will, for medically related expenses. And so if employees don't spend all of that money in year 1 or year 2, they can continue saving and putting into that and even use it in retirement.
My edification, we're seeing approximately 8% increase year over year. From a baseline perspective, how does that line up with other municipalities and their plans? And I fully understand they offer different things, but just for my edification again.
Well, I was going to say.
Anybody can field this question.
Well, I would say that generally and historically speaking, our increases have been significantly below what we're seeing not only in municipalities but the industry across the board, especially in the last couple years with inflation. Cost of goods, care, medical care literally costs more today than it did just due to inflation. I would say that even compared to municipalities, we are below benchmark. What was that? Above benchmark on lower increases is the backwards way to say that. The other thing I will kind of, I was like, I'm saying this backwards. The other component of this, and I know Jennifer mentioned it on her introductory slide, is we did have a higher claims year. We were fortunate to have negotiated a rate cap for you all this year that we put in place last year. That was able to come into play this year and help keep us, I would say, only at 8%. If you look at sort of the loss ratio and some of the catastrophic claims in nature, that tool was very, very helpful in risk mitigation for us. And the ability to have that next year, as you're asking about future increases and trend and how that plays out historically and in the future, there's certainly a value to knowing next year again that we're at that 15% cap, which is certainly sort of in line with what we're honestly seeing in inflation.
We also did a benchmarking analysis that took a look at the plan designs and costs for employees versus other public administrations and government health plans within the Southeast region, and we actually have a full report on that. And some of the recommendations we're making today, such as increasing the emergency room copay or out-of-pocket expenses or the plan design for pharmacy, is to get more in line with that benchmarking that we notice for the other municipalities' health plans.
Any other questions? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And Jody getting all anxious.
Maybe we can get out of here.
The Wood Acres property master plan must be on your mind.
It is. So Mayor and Council, in January of 2024, the city entered into an agreement with Chamblee Horn for the development of the Wood Acres property master plan. And since that time, they completed a site survey, a site analysis, and held 2 public input meetings to determine the desired uses for that property and to define and refine that master plan. The information gathered from those public input meetings was used to render the master plan and the associated cost, which came back at roughly $612,000. We are seeking adoption of the master plan and will incorporate it into the city's Parks and Recreation master plan. Do you have any questions on that?
The design itself, or just what you just said?
The design itself, we are seeking adoption of the design itself. Obviously, the costs will change depending on when we do the project or complete the project.
So just looking at that slide, I guess what I'm looking at is the same. It looks like you're got the, because the aggregate path is the in the middle, right? What is this path constructed of that's near the
That is actually
entrance signs?
the path that goes all the way through the property is the concrete trail.
So that goes from, what is that, what road is that, Elmer?
Wood Acres,
Wood Acres to,
right now, just the back area along the creek. This is for future connection.
oh, it doesn't go all the way up
If we
to
do
your
the
neighborhood?
If we do the Dresden connector,
Oh, because it does stop, it plays out,
yeah.
I see.
yeah, that's
And
another
then,
phase.
does that stop there at the bottom right-hand portion of the screen?
It does,
'Cause
It stays
'cause
on that
that goes
property.
off the property and
correct.
somewhere else.
That will require probably a bridge
Gotcha.
to cross the
And
stream.
why are we not going up to the road that's,
So there's a pedestrian bridge that crosses over the stream to connect Wood Acres, that neighborhood.
uh-huh,
And then the rest of it stays within our property that we own, that
Yeah,
piece of property.
the easement is included from Claremont Terrace through to Wood Acres.
yeah, I mean,
Sorry,
I was
wasn't
just
clear.
wondering why it's not connecting to Claremont Terrace.
It is. If you look where it says entrance sign, there's two places where it says
It
entrance
says
sign.
entrance sign, but I didn't know, that's so the concrete, the color changes, so I just didn't know if it was, like that was included. So that, it goes all the way from there to there, and then wraps over here to the footbridge on the bottom? So it's like a Y, kind of, sort of? Okay. It sounds good to me.
My only feedback on this is I despise impervious surfaces. Is there an opportunity to remove the concrete where we can and put gravel or rock as opposed to the concrete?
We could, however, this is part of the master trails plan. So this piece of it, part of the reason why this city was interested in purchasing this property was because it was identified by the Path Foundation as a piece of property that was for sale that would help us complete a portion of our parks, our trails master plan. So if we did not put it in concrete, it would not match the rest of the trail that's coming in
Fully
future
understand
years.
that. I didn't realize it was part of that master plan.
And it
That
also
doesn't
has
make
some
sense.
significant topography changes that would make.
It really does.
The gravel would be very difficult to maintain coming down these hills.
Yeah, I go to Mary Scott Nature Park over in DeKalb, which is right by my house, and they have challenging topography, and they have gravel as well. However, I completely understand what Jody's saying, so it's a non-starter. I get it. Thank you.
Okay. You got more?
Yes, I think the next thing up is the Village Park turf field improvements.
All right, so we'll move on down then to Village Park turf field improvements.
Chamblee received funding through the Improving Neighborhood Outcomes Grant in 2023 for resurfacing the grass field at Village Park. And Chamblee Horn bid out the project on behalf of the city and received responses from 3 bidders. The 3 bidders were Great American Green, Compan, and Sprin Turf, and we are seeking approval of the notice of award to Great American Green Incorporated, who was the lowest bidder, in the amount of $263,345. And this is a reimbursable grant, so we will have to fund that up front, and then as we complete the project, we will get reimbursed by the government.
Questions on this side?
Is there any match on the grant, or is it 100%?
No match. Yeah.
That was at 280,000, if I remember correctly, around there.
We received $422,000 from the state.
And the low bidder was 280.
And the low bidder was $263,345.
Should have went with the high bidder.
So where's the surplus go?
We are working with the state on this, and we possibly can use the additional funds for some other things in the park, like replacing the fencing around the community garden to make it taller. We can possibly upgrade the turf and some of the infill there and utilize the funds for that. So.
Speaking of upgrading the turf, there's always something when everybody says they're going to put in an artificial turf. Because I guess not all artificial turfs are the same. I think that some have used more recycled tires, another one used maybe sand versus non-recycled materials. So I just wondered, is any of that part of this conversation? And impervious, is this still considered a pervious surface, like water can go?
Can go through it.
Go through it
can
and into
drain
the
through it.
ground and do all
Correct,
that.
and we are looking at the top of the line turf for this because we do have additional funding here. So we will not be using infill that's carcinogens and things like that of the rubberized tires. We're looking at a a surface that's similar to coconut. I mean, you could eat it. It's not going to harm you. Not that we're going to encourage that, but that's what we're looking at because we do have the funding for that. So it also drops the temperature down about 15 degrees.
Over the rubber tire products? or-
Correct.
So, oh,
So
okay.
no plastic will be killed in the installation of
Can't guarantee that. You know, the grass blades are probably.
I'm a bit suspect on that science yet. I don't think it's settled. And I think you said it best when we were interviewed for the
That is
Oakland Tourism
correct.
Park, where there's chemicals that are going on natural grass. And
That's correct.
there hasn't been studies done
No,
on
I-
that. So, you know, once the science is settled, we'll figure this out.
Great.
Thank you, Jody.
Thank you.
Not against first.
All right, that circles us back to the next item on the agenda, which is 2580 Northeast Expressway. Was there any questions from council for the applicant or staff on this item?
What's the current business that's on that property right now?
John?
It's a, it's a business called, well, actually, I just have a landowner. I don't know the name of the business on there.
We know what they're proposing to store in said warehouse?
No, but it is consistent with zoning.
real estate services, I think.
The
The
applicant.
GC right behind
Come on-
us, I'm
come on
sure he
up.
can help us out.
Come on up.
Yeah.
Okay,
They have their equipment they use on their sites, they'll store it in the building.
What's, looking at it on the satellite map, it looks like there's a building in the back parking lot now, storage building. Is that going away for the new? It was a little unclear. Oh, it's repurposed, and then the variance is because there's another building that's being installed in between those two? Is that what it's?
That building that's on the drawing there is existing, and it's a parking, you can park your cars into it.
Okay.
It's carports. It's basically carport type
In
structures.
the back, and then
The white roofs you're seeing in the.
the ones that are
overhead.
kind of,
Yeah, they're just carports.
and
And
then
there are-
the additional new warehouse is behind the bigger building, the rectangular building. Okay.
And then now, I'm curious, as part of, are the Connex boxes going away as well, or are they going to be remaining? Okay.
They're removing from the site, it's just for the people at home, so they can hear.
Very good, very
All right.
good.
Any other questions? All right, very good, thank you, sir. And then finally, 3285 Shallowford Road. Any questions from council on this item?
I do have a question that I don't understand the public space. I'm going to get to that.
Is the applicant here tonight?
Yeah, oh, yes.
Where?
Pardon me?
I'm sorry, I keep getting going.
We're on
in.
Shalford Road, right?
Are you talking about the streetscape?
I'm talking about the piece of your property that is, that you can look down on from your balcony on. So between you
That's
and
not
the,
their property. I don't think that's their property. Is- Yes,
Yes.
yes. Is that your property? Come on up here.
You can come up to the microphone.
this drives me crazy. It's not easy to use.
You're not doing it right.
Good evening. Juan Del Rio, reside at 4163 Glen Meadow Drive, Peachtree Corners, Georgia. Thank you all for your time this evening.
This is different. This is,
I'm not
that's the
there yet.
Basha thing.
Okay, well, then, scroll. That's where I was. Sorry, folks.
I'm not the only one.
No, it's right here.
Please excuse our technical
Oh,
difficulties.
no problem at all. I was just a bit thrown off because it was showing the other projects.
So,
still on this.
while they're figuring that out, quick question for you. It used to be residents on that property, and it did burn down. Was ever a cause of what burnt that down?
I am not sure the owner is here. Mustafa, do you know why?
Podium?
No, there's nothing out there right now. But
Good evening, everybody. There was electrical issues in there, and then the fire started from the electrical thing, and it's burned out, I think, in February 2021. Yep.
Where the driveway is where I was and still is. it's marked, the print is really small, I can hardly see it. Public open space easement area. I don't understand what that's for.
She's talking about the existing driveway that comes off Shallowford. Yeah, so that driveway is going to be removed, and we're going to be putting sidewalk all along Shallowford, and that easement area is for public access. It's what the city requires for the streetscape or interaction between the property and public space.
Yeah, that's correct.
But the driveway, there's only going to be one driveway, and it's off LaVenture Drive.
Beside your building, to the left side of the building, it says public open space easement area and open space area. Is that going to be sodded?
Yes, it will.
Okay.
It will be sodded.
I just wanted to,
Okay,
that's all I wanted to know.
okay. Absolutely.
Don, does this project align with our future land use for this area?
Yes, it is.
Questions?
That's it.
All right, thank you. All right, nothing under council items this evening. That'll take us down to public comment. I'll read the rules of order for public comment. The mayor is the presiding officer. All remarks shall be addressed to the city council as a body, not to individual members. Anyone wishing to speak shall come to the microphone, give your name and address to the city clerk. Limit remarks to 3 minutes unless further time is granted by council. Not speak a second time until everyone wishing has spoken once, and no one can speak more than twice. Please do not speak unless you have the microphone and have been recognized. And with that, anyone here wishing to address council this evening? Anything on anybody's mind? Don't be shy. Come on up. No one wishing to address council this evening. Do we have a...
If I will, I would like to ask Chief Dieppe and Chief Byrd to come up to the podium to
Okay,
introduce.
all right.
Yeah, they were trying to
All
sneak
right.
out without doing
right.
the proper
Can't have that.
introductions, so
Don't
we
worry,
wanted to make
I
sure.
didn't forget.
Hiding back there.
Good evening. I'm Andrea Byrd. I'm the new Assistant Chief for Chamblee Police Department. Some of you I've met, and others of you I've welcomed the opportunity to get to meet and have a conversation with. A little bit about me. I was a police officer in Miami-Dade County for 29 years approximately. I was promoted through the ranks, sergeant, lieutenant. I got my first appointment as a major in South District. I ran an operation that was 300 square miles, and I had roughly 300 employees that worked for me there. I did that for about 5 years before I was promoted to division chief. As a support services division chief, I oversaw the operations of our personnel management bureau, our communications bureau, our 911 center, our training bureau where we run our police academy, and our in-service training, as well as our records bureau. I did that for about 3 years, and then I was transferred to another division, which was investigative support division. And in that division, I oversaw the operations of our crime scene and evidence bureau, our property and evidence bureau, our information and technologies bureau, and our warrants bureau. I've been working with this guy for many years. We worked together. He was the major of the Warrants Bureau when I oversaw those operations, as well as the Personnel Management Bureau when I oversaw those operations. We have a good working relationship, and we've brought that here to your city, and I love it here. I love it here. I retired about 2 years ago, moved to Covington, Georgia, and bought a piece of property, had a 1 acre lake, and watched the deer run around, and I'm always teasing that he drugged me out of retirement, but after 2 years, I think I was ready to unretire. And I'm just glad to be here, and I thank you for the opportunity.
Chief, we've met last week. I believe you passed your 5 weeks versus our last assistant chief that made it 5 days. So we're glad to have you with us. And I will say this, because Chief Dieppe hasn't been with us that long either. But I'm hearing good things every day. I'm out talking to citizens all the time, and I'm hearing good things every day. And I got a compliment today on the both of you. So I just want to pass that along. We're hearing good things, and I know we're going in the right direction, and glad to have y'all. Yeah, thank you. Yep.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Right. Do we have executive session today? All right. With that, we're out of here.
As painless as it could be.
I mean, we've done much worse.
Yes, but, you know, that's not necessarily a high bar.
Yes, it could have been worse. We didn't have any public comment for yelling at us.
Did we get all this stuff?